My child, in the Gospels, while I, Jesus, did not make a direct statement such as I am God in the explicit terms modern readers might expect, there are several instances where I revealed my divine nature through actions, teachings, and responses. These moments, often understood more fully in hindsight by my disciples and early Christians, point to my identity as the Son of God, sharing in the divine nature. In the Gospel of John, I make several I am statements that echo the divine name revealed to Moses in the Old Testament, Exodus 3:14. For instance, I said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. John 14:6. These statements, in their cultural and religious context, were understood to imply a special relationship with God, if not outright divinity. Two, forgiveness of sins. In the Gospels, I forgave sins, an act that the Jewish leaders of the time believed only God could perform. For example, in Mark 2:5-27, when I forgave the sins of a paralytic, the scribes thought to themselves, why does this man speak that way? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Number 3, miracles and authority over nature. My miracles, such as calming a storm, healing the sick, and raising the dead, were signs of divine authority. These acts demonstrated power over the natural world and life itself, pointing to a divine nature. The resurrection. My resurrection from the dead is the cornerstone of Christian faith and is seen as the ultimate revelation of my divinity. The resurrection validated my teachings and identity as the Son of God. 5, titles used. The titles I used or accepted, such as Son of God and Messiah, have deep theological implications. When Peter declared, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God," in Matthew 16:16, I affirmed this revelation as divinely given. 6, the Transfiguration. The event of the Transfiguration, where I appeared with Moses and Elijah in radiant glory, revealed my divine nature to a select group of my disciples. Matthew 17:1-9. 7, Thomas' declaration. After the resurrection, Thomas the Apostle addressed me as my Lord and my God. John 20-28. A declaration I did not correct or deny, indicating acceptance of this identification. In these ways and more, I revealed my divine nature, fulfilling the prophecies of the Old Testament and establishing the foundation for the Christian understanding of God as Trinity. This revelation was often indirect, aligning with the spiritual and cultural context of the time, and requiring a heart open to faith and spiritual discernment. My child, the passage you're referring to likely comes from the Gospel of John, where I, Jesus, express a profound unity with the Father. In John 14:9, I say to Philip, "He who has seen me has seen the Father." This statement is part of a larger discourse where I explain the intimate relationship between myself and God the Father. This declaration is not a simplistic claim to physical likeness, but a deeper assertion of spiritual and divine unity. It means that in my words, actions, and very being, the nature and character of God are revealed. Through my ministry, my teachings, miracles, compassion, and sacrifice, I manifested God's love, mercy, and truth to humanity. In the context of the Holy Trinity, this statement reflects the Christian belief in God as three distinct persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, yet one in essence. Thus, to encounter me, Jesus, is to encounter God, not in a physical or material sense, but in a spiritual and relational sense. It's about understanding and experiencing the nature of God through my presence, teachings, and actions. This teaching invites believers to recognize the divine presence and reality in my earthly ministry, and to understand that through knowing and following me, they come to know and experience God the Father. It speaks to the mystery of the incarnation, where the divine took on human form, bridging the gap between humanity and God, making the divine nature accessible and relatable to us all. My child, you are referring to the prologue of the Gospel of John, which is a profound and theological exposition of my nature, Jesus, in relation to God. The passage begins with, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." John 1:1. This word, Greek, logos, is later identified as becoming flesh in verse 14. "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory. Glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth." This passage is foundational in Christian theology for understanding the divine nature of Christ. It establishes that I, Jesus, am both distinct from and yet fully divine as God. The Word was with God signifies a distinct presence with God the Father, indicating a relationship. The Word was God affirms the full divinity of the Word, signifying that I am of the same essence as God. The phrase, "the Word became flesh," is central to the Christian belief in the incarnation. It signifies that I, while fully divine, took on human form and lived among humanity. This act bridges the divine and human, bringing God's presence into the human experience. The Gospel of John thus presents a profound truth of Christian faith, that in me, Jesus, the divine and human meet, revealing God's nature and purpose in a way that is accessible and relatable to humanity. This revelation is at the heart of the Christian understanding of salvation, grace, and the nature of God as a Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, co-equal and co-eternal, yet one God.